music producer, singer, songwriter. How did this love for music come about for Aisyah?
Oh my gosh. I feel like that's a question I'm like, where do I start? Because I come from such a musical family.
Dude, I saw your Instagram. You picked up a violin so young.
Yes, I did. The classic, like, pick up the violin. You're really like,
everyone just has one lying around.
No, but actually, I wanted to get into violin because of my uncle.
Okay.
At the time, he was living in Singapore with his parents. I think they were based in Singapore. And like, I remember going into his room, my brother and I see this instrument in the corner. And I'm like, what's that? And my uncle was like, oh, my violin. I was like, I want to try it. And he's like, oh, no, you cannot touch. And I was like, well, I want to learn. Yeah. So I went up to my mom. I'm like, I want to play the violin. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay. Because, you know, sometimes parents are like, are you doing it because you think it's cool in the moment? Or like, do you really want to try it and play it and like train for it? I did that for about, I think, 4 or 5 years. And then after 6th grade, I was like, no, I want to change to a different instrument.
Were you always into music, or was the family into music? Because I know Aziz Harun, his whole family was into music.
Yeah.
Dad had different instruments lying about and stuff like that. What was that the same for you? Yeah,
so my dad plays the guitar. And when he was younger, he was also in a band and he played the saxophone. That's what he told us. And we see, like, there's this one photo. I can't find it nowadays. But I remember I found it when I was really young. And it was like this dimly lit like room, and he was on stage with a bunch of other guys, and he had like the electric guitar.
Oh, wow.
And it was just such a cool photo. When I was young and I saw that, I was like, dang, I'm going to do that kind of thing. So, and my mom trained in classical piano.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, so it's cool because she still kept all of her like piano books and stuff. And growing up, like, even my aunts and uncles and cousins, they all play different instruments. They all love singing. So when someone takes out the guitar, they all start singing and stuff.
Do you feel there's a bit of added pressure with the family all being musically, inclined in a sense?
I don't think so. It was just, I remember like growing up and it being so fun because everyone played something different. So like, I've got 3 brothers and 1 sister. My brothers played like the drum kit, the bass, and the electric guitar. And my sister played the piano. So I was like the singer in the group.
It must have been so fun at home.
It was so fun. We went to one of the local music schools here, Expressions, and the teachers there were so convinced that we were going to be like a sibling band.
Oh my gosh.
But like all my siblings had different interests. They were like, no, music is Aisha's thing. We don't want to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So, after that, what you mentioned that you jumped on a different instrument after grade 6. What was it?
Yeah. So in secondary school, I started playing like piano and guitar, but like self-taught at first. And I taught myself guitar just by like reading guitar tabs. Cause my mom would like buy like the pop piano books kind of thing with like the lyrics and the melody and chords. So I would like play and then try to figure out the chords myself. Then I think one day my mom came home and she saw me playing. She's like, how did you learn that? And I was like, oh, it's just from the book you bought me.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then she's like, really? Okay. Do you want to go for lessons? And I was like, yeah, okay. So.
Man, you were just so open to learning when you're so young.
Yeah, like I love experimenting. Even to this day, I feel like it shows in my music production and like vocal arrangement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just love experimenting, and just like sound design is like my thing when it comes to sound production. I just love going down like rabbit holes. When I have an idea, it turns into like something completely different, and I'm like, okay, save as a different like session because I got this idea, but now I got this different idea. Yeah. So
I feel like you're someone who wears many hats, right? You're the singer, the songwriter, music producer, voiceover, sound design.
Yeah.
When people ask who you are and what you do, how do you describe yourself?
Oh my gosh, an artist.
I like it.
An artist.
Okay.
It's so funny because my Instagram says artist, and I remember when I first changed it to like a business account, and it says like, okay, what category do you want to be in?
You get that pressure, right?
Right, exactly.
Because like I don't want to like what because I fell in the same, because when people ask me like, Najwi, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm a magician. I'm a radio DJ. I'm a fitness coach. Like, you know, like where'd I go with this? You know,
right? Because we got so much in us that like we're not really tied to one thing. You know, we're so well rounded in a lot of things. So yeah.
So you finally decided on an artist when it came to Instagram category?
Yes, I think like I think when I was still in uni, that's when I changed it to artist.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was like, don't you want to do musician? Because it sounds like you're a visual artist. And I'm like, no, artist.
Yeah, because you're doing so many different things.
Yes,
like
exactly.
I feel musician would just limit you to just music. And I've seen your stuff outside of music and it's equally just as epic. So I think artist would be the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that little, you know, when someone asks like, you know, what do you do? And you say artist? Because I know sometimes when I say I'm a magician, and then I always feel there's that little, am I though? You know, but like, how does it feel when you tell people you're an artist?
So kind of like, what do you call it? Imposter syndrome? No. Is that like, I don't know. It's just one of those. I definitely, when I started off, I was like, oh man, like, am I really who I say I am? But when it comes down to it, it's like, no, like we gotta believe in ourselves before we ask others to believe in our craft and what we do.
Dude, so, I'm a firm believer of that. Right? Amen. 'Cause I feel there are so many moments in my life that I've sort of had to verbalize and vocalize first.
Yes.
And then I think that made it just that little bit more real for me.
Yeah.
And then things slowly start shifting into place.
Yeah.
Making decisions start to be a little easier.
Exactly.
Because then you've sort of defined who you are a little bit. And it goes from there.
Exactly. Because I used to be the kind of person who was so like in my head. And I'm like, I shouldn't share until like I'm ready. I'm there. But it's like we're constantly evolving. We're constantly learning. So I don't think that like the we made it kind of like moment is really an obvious thing.
Would you say you're a perfectionist?
I am.
Right? Me too. So here's the one thing. I don't know if anyone's ever said this to you, because I had one of my closest friends said this to me. It's like, Naz, you're too much of a perfectionist. And because I was thinking of releasing a magic, you know, trick a day on Instagram for a whole year. And at one point I fell off and he was like, you're too much of a perfectionist, man. You want to make sure that whole trick is completely perfect before you post it. And if you're going to wait for something to be completely perfect, you're never going to post it. And I was like, oh, that's so true.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like that was me when I had first started off doing my career, because I started with film scoring first. So when I graduated from high school in Brunei, I went to uni. That was like, okay, I know I want to be a film composer. But I didn't really like share too much, at least online kind of thing. If, you know, I was around the community, around like the locals in the area I was in, like, they know like, okay, I'm the film composer. But I only started utilizing and sharing like behind the scenes and what I do on like social media, I think halfway through working in LA. Which is wild because I'm like, why did I start so late? Why was I so scared? You know?
I definitely want to touch on your social media later because I feel you've got a good handle of it on creating content and sharing content. But before we sort of move on, you wear so many of these hats. Which one do you think brings you the most joy? I know. I'm not trying to pin you into that box again. But I'm sure there's one that if you had to choose to do for the rest of your life, which one would it be, you think?
No. I say oh no because Tia from Girl Talk asked me this recently and I was like, girl, why? But what I told her was songwriting, because I feel like I could still, you know, songwriting is not just about the lyrics and the melody. You still think about the chords. You still think about like the overarching, like, okay, how do you want it to sound generally? And I feel like, you know, that's something I really enjoy.
It's not limited to you as well, right? Because when you're writing songs for someone else, you got to be in their headspace too, exactly. And their personality and their style.
Yeah. And I love that because it's like, I don't know, I just love trying to like hear other people's stories and trying to see like, okay, like what can I write to relate to that? I mean, just for me, like life has so much inspirations, but like hearing someone else's life and other people's perspective also gives me like inspiration for creativity. So.
Do you watch a lot of movies?
I haven't lately, not too much. I think I can't remember what the last one I watched was, but I was watching Peaky Blinders. I'm more into like TV shows now.
By order of the Peaky Blinders. Oh,
I haven't finished it though, so don't tell me.
I haven't seen the last season, so,
okay.
so we're good. No spoilers?
No spoilers.
Okay, got it.
Because I think I'm not even on the second last season yet. I'm very slow. I take
Who's
my
your favorite
time.
character in Peaky Blinders?
Ooh,
no pressure. And why is it Tom Hardy?
Dang, you got me. No. He's witty though. He's so witty.
Dude, yes. My favorite. Easily my favorite.
Oh my gosh. The aunt.
Oh.
The aunt I really like because she's so like
badass.
Yeah, so badass. Such a boss.
And we all know you like boss women.
Exactly.
Boss girls.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, definitely I was a huge fan of her. Yeah, it's such a sick show. Like, oh my gosh.
Okay, before we digress, you mentioned LA earlier.
Yes.
You're one of the few locals who I know and who I can get into this seat that have had, the opportunity to work not only in Brunei but outside of Brunei as well. What was it like working outside of Brunei? What was the quality of work expected? What was the standards? What were the procedures like? Are they a little bit more pedantic about things? What was that experience like?
Oh, it's very cutthroat, very fast-paced. Especially in a place like LA, the pool of talent is so vast.
That's where everyone goes to get noticed, right?
Right, yeah. And because of that, like everyone goes there, it can get so saturated. It's like, how do you get noticed kind of thing? And something I tell people is always, always, always network. Always go out of your comfort zone to connect with people, because you can be the most talented person ever, but if you don't connect, then you can't really go far. Connections get you far kind of thing, because
sure,
you got to be like well-rounded. Like we talked about, you got to have like... be able to work in a team, meet lots of people and be really good at your job, But yeah, it's such a fast-paced environment. And it's so crazy because people don't really think about that when we watch like our TV shows and movies and like, visual media stuff. Like it's so easy and it's so fun. But then like behind the scenes, like people are working like 20-hour shifts kind of thing, trying to get it across.
I mean, they've got unions and stuff over there to make sure you don't overwork and stuff like that. Right. And I'm sure it must have been such a gave you so much experience under your belt as well. And then as well at is it completely, because I think when people sort of think about working outside, they don't really see how crazy it can be.
Yeah.
Would you recommend, someone, how would you recommend someone getting started working outside and stuff like that? For you, was it a after school thing?
Yeah, so it was during school I got connected because I took a music degree. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier.
Not yet.
Yeah. So I went to the US, to Rochester, New York, which is not to be confused with New York City. Every time I say New York, they're like, oh my gosh, the Big Apple. It's a 6-hour drive from New York City, guys. It's like driving to KK.
But tumpang glamour a bit lah. Can lah.
Yeah, can lah.
Oh yeah, I see Jay-Z every weekend.
Right. It's closer to Canada because we got Niagara Falls.
Is it?
So it's as cold as Canada, dude.
I never would have known.
Right? I didn't know either until I got there and I was like, wow, I'm not close to New York City.
Wow.
But Rochester is an amazing place. It's the birthplace of Kodak.
Okay.
So a lot of photography stuff, which I love. But yeah, going back, I took a music degree there. During my senior year, I was taking like an audio engineering course, and we had a guest lecturer who was working at Hans Zimmer's camp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he goes by Brandon Campbell, and so he visited to do a guest lecture because he's one of the alumni there. And so after the lecture, I was packing up to go leave, and as I was heading towards the door, I was like, should I go introduce myself or should I leave? And like, I was so shy back then, and like, social anxiety was getting the best of me. So I almost walked out the door, but then I was like, no, let's turn around and like at least say hi and say thank you for the lecture. And so I went up to him. I was like, hi, my name is Aisyah. I'm a senior. I'm looking to do film scoring, and like, it's really cool that you're coming from Hans's camp. And as we were talking, I then asked like, oh, is there any like perhaps opportunities or like internships you guys offer? And he's like, yeah, just, here's my email and let's get you set up kind of thing. Let's talk about it. Yeah. So I always tell people, you never know what will happen if you just make the first move and get out of your comfort zone.
For sure. And I talk about that all the time. I think people don't realize the power of just even introducing yourself.
Yes.
The power of just getting someone's email address.
Yes.
Because it can just lead you to so many different places.
Exactly, yeah. Especially if you can't obtain their email address anywhere else. That is like a big thing, if it's hard to contact these people. So yeah, I contacted the email. I was like, I'm still interested, And so he's like, all right, like, let me get you connected with this guy, and then we'll set up an interview. And then the interview happened through Skype, and then like I landed the internship. So
that's so amazing.
It was so crazy. Everything kind of happened like go, that I feel like in the moment I didn't really like take it in. I was like, wow, okay, that happened.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the imposter syndrome started coming in and stuff, and I was like, oh man, like, do I deserve this kind of thing? So but yeah, like we've talked about before, like, what is the harm in trying? At least try it, because it's horrible if we like look back and we don't do it, and it's like, dang, regret.
Dude, for sure. Would you say so? I've been in a similar boat.
Yeah.
I remember I was on a reality show in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And it was for magic. It was like The Voice, but for magic. So we had
that's so cool.
a magician from each country, from Korea, from Japan, and I was the guy that was representing Brunei. And I remember just telling myself, because we set these expectations up for ourselves, right?
Yeah,
I need to be this epic. I don't want to be the Bruneian stereotype and get eliminated first.
Right.
And I got eliminated first. But I remember not long before that, I was always telling myself, like, man, I remember seeing, the Asia's Got Talent, commercial one time, and I was like, oh, I told my mom. I remember I was in my living room. The trailer for Asia's Got Talent came up, season 1, and I was like, Mom. I was in my PJs. I was like, Mom, I'm going to be on that show today. And she was like, all right, buddy, time for bed. I think you had a little bit too much warm milk, But then, and then out of the blue, this opportunity came up. And then definitely that imposter syndrome came up for me too. I got eliminated, but I got pulled back in for wild card. And then next thing you know, that led, because I had a sizzle reel or because I had that experience, that led to an appearance on Asia's Got Talent. And, but yeah, it was.
We now got to Google.
That was a very dark time in my life, because I was the guy that got eliminated, but I was the intro to the winner of Asia's Got Talent season 2, because magicians were getting a bad rep this season. Let's see how, and it was just me. And I was like,
no.
But hey, stuff happens. That's okay. We live when we learn. And what's the harm in trying? We try. I might have failed. I might have cried after that. I can't confirm nor deny it. But I got a great story out of it. And now if I do decide if I ever want to go back in, I kind of know what the expectations are from the production team and everyone else as well. So that was an interesting time for me. And I'm pretty sure like people just don't realize there's no harm in trying.
Exactly. And like, I feel like it's normal to feel that way of like, oh, should I do this? Because like, okay, it's weird. Even after I got placed into that internship, right? After I graduated, I remember like, I went back to Brunei first before going to LA that same year. And I was telling my parents, like, because I still have yet to accept the offer. I had this whole presentation in front of my parents. And I'm like, I don't think I should go to LA. I think I should stay in Rochester, New York, because I have a good job with this bubble tea shop, and like, I can make money.
Trying to convince yourself.
Yeah, I can make steady income, whereas I don't know what it's like in LA, and like, what if they don't like me? What if I fail and stuff? And so it's like that fear of failing, which looking back, I'm like, girl, you dumb. Why?
I remember a friend of mine was like, Najee, why are you scared to try something? No one's getting shot, stabbed, killed, or pregnant. You're fine. I'm like, okay. When you put it in that way, like, I get it. Do you feel like you mentioned the social anxiety of approaching a stranger, you know, that sort of thing. And I know a lot of people be like, well, of course she can say hello to him. She's, you know, because on your Instagram, you look very like, you know, hey, how's it going? You know, very approachable, very, very outgoing, very, you know, extrovert. Were you always that kind of person? Because I noticed you said just now you had a bit of the social anxiety and all that stuff.
It's a facade.
Dude, I get it. Right? I get it.
I feel like that's the thing. Like, we're so different on social. We can't be so different on social media because, first of all, it's just a camera, and for me, it's like it's different than when I'm in a room full of like a crowd, you know. And like recently, I had a gig, and there were a lot of people, and I was getting nervous. I was like, oh man, I've done this before. Why am I getting nervous? And so,
do you know what my theory is about getting nervous? I think getting nervous is like great.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're getting nervous, it means you care.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It means you care about the outcome. It means you care about the experience for the audience. And I always feel like, oh man, I'm like nervous, I'm freaking out, but I'm like, oh wait, that's a good thing. Like that means I care. So
yeah. No, I know like when I hear some of my peers go like, I think I'm okay. I'm like, are you sure? Let's hold on.
I just want to know that you care.
Yes. I was like, hold on, let's take a moment to breathe and like meditate. And they're like, I think you need that.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
So if we switch gears a little bit, you come back to Brunei. What was it like integrating yourself into the local scene? Was there, you know, pushback? Was it a highly supportive scene where you kind of just, you know, connect straight away? I'm sure people will be like, whoa, who's this person coming back from LA?
Yeah.
You know, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think the transition was not as like shocking for me because when I was in LA, I started connecting with like people from KFM, you know, because when I was releasing music, I got in touch with like local radio stations here. And I remember some of the KFM crews, our friends are like, they told me like, yeah, we got this cold email from you. And we're like, who's this? Which is true because I've never put myself out there before. Yeah. I've always been like the person behind the scenes kind of thing. Yeah. And just like, I never wanted to put myself out there too much kind of thing. And so, a lot of people would always be like, oh, who's this? Like, she's Bruneian, but she's in LA. Like, what? Kind of thing. But, so I think to me, the transition was a bit slow because, you know, I started like letting people know like, oh, I do voiceovers. So I would love to do like some voiceovers for campaigns on radios or, like advertisements and stuff, but I did get a lot of like hate on social media, especially
from who?
TikTok.
Oh, like just random people commenting?
Yeah, just like the usual anonymous accounts.
Go on. Do you remember any comments?
Yeah, there were some that were just like there's one recurring like account apparently is Brunei's like cyberbully. That's what my other friends
Brunei's
told
like
me.
number one hater.
Yeah.
We're not going to give him or her power. We're not going to say it, but you just tell me off air later.
Yeah. So, just to let you know. Stuff. But like things like,
wait, that's Yaya's on
but stuff like they try to be so creative with their comments like, oh, this is what my drunk auntie looks like at a wedding. And it was like a gig of like Play Forte and I like playing at kind of thing. And I was like, oh, having the time of her life. Okay. kind of thing. But like, you know, like it used to irk me so much. I would like try to like give comebacks and stuff. But after a while I was like, that's a lot of energy wasted. Like, why should I even do that? But yeah, when I saw a quote somewhere where it's like, if it's anonymous, I don't care because it just makes it so much easier to disconnect.
So two things I want to touch on here, right?
Yeah.
Number one's that prep work. I thought that was great because I think everyone always assumes that when they're about to jump into a new business, a new hustle, a new passion, that, all right, I'm going to quit my day job. I'm going to jump right into that straight away.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There's so much prep work that I think people don't see behind the scenes. I think, so I was working the corporate 9 to 5 at one point in my life. And I remember I was like, you know what? I'm gonna quit my job and be a magician. That is my goal. That is my goal in life. And but before that, I think, you know, I did a lot of prep work. I made sure that I had 3 months of like life savings in my account, just to get by. I made sure I got extra gigs at KFM. I made sure I got extra slots at the gym. And the fact that you were doing this before you even got back to Brunei, I thought that was such a win, because I think a lot of people don't think that too far in advance.
Yes. Yeah, because I feel like when people say, oh, I dropped everything to do this. Not really.
Yeah, you don't need to. Just hang on there, buddy. You know,
like you got to have a plan, you know? And so I love this. I was, do you know Doechii, the rapper?
No, I don't.
Okay. I gotta show you.
Okay, you put me on later. Got it.
But I was watching some of her old YouTube videos before, like, she started blowing up a lot. But she would make videos about, like, you know, what she did to save up to get to a point where she is, like, be it like saving up for an apartment, saving up for this. And I love that she was so transparent about it. Whereas, you know, sometimes other artists could be like, it's so simple. But she's like, no, you got to work hard, but also like have a plan and then have a contingency plan if it doesn't fall through. Like, don't just go in blindly and just like rely on luck.
For sure, man. Yeah. I think, so we spoke to one of our other guests recently, Kai, and he says, like, when that time limit ends, you got to decide, do I push through or do I sort of peel off and be like, all right, we got to switch plans here? Yeah,
definitely.
I remember I was telling my mom, the conversation I had with my mom to tell her that I was going to quit my day job.
I love it.
So I was in my Kia, and I know the exact stretch of road I told her too, because it's just so burnt into my head. And I just remember just driving. And I'm like, hey mom, like I'm gonna quit my job, and she's like, huh? And do what? You know, bless my mom. I love her. She's just looking out for me. Yes. And I was like, I just want to be a magician. You know? And you're talking to a guy who is working corporate comms, you know, for a financial institution, a guy who's got a geomatics degree, you know, ready to survey land and make maps. Yes. And I was like, I think I just want to be a magician. She's like, what? And I'm like, you know, because I don't want to be the guy 5 years from now. Like, what if? Yes. And then she said, she's just silent. And I was just like, look, like I've got some money saved up. I've got more gigs lined up. Just give me 6 months. If it works out in 6 months, I'll continue. And if it doesn't, at least I've gotten it off my shoulder. Yes. So I gave myself that time limit. Yes. And she was like, as long as you can pay all your bills on time. I'm like, okay. You know, so yeah. I agree. I feel like when we give ourselves that time limit, we have to commit through and be like, okay, I'm going to work really hard to see this through. Because it's like, then what's the point, you know? For sure. Yeah. You got to know your why. Yeah. And then you got to set a time limit for it as well. Exactly. And then it becomes a little bit more realistic. Yeah. Every time I work with my team, I'm like, okay, guys, here's the deadline. And they're like, okay. Yeah. Do you feel people in Brunei are quite relaxed with things like that? Like the whole deadline, Yeah, I think when I first came home, that was like an issue for me. It's still an issue for me now because I'm always like, okay, guys, we gotta stick to like this plan unless something like drastic happens. Do you feel you've been a little bit more lenient now that you're a little integrated into this? I like to think I am. But like, I know like my fiance would like tell people, he'd be like, she's just always on my ass. It's a place of love. Yes. It's a place of love. Exactly. For sure, I'm definitely the person who like will direct people and then like tell them like, okay guys, like ciao, we gotta go. No dilly-dallying. Because at the end of the day, it's our reputation on the line. Yeah, it's the reputation. And then like, like when we have something to work on, I don't want it to just be up in the air. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, we talk about this because I've had a few experiences, both here and anywhere, like even in the US where people talk about things and I'm like, yeah, I'm down. Like, let me know what it is. Cause I don't want to be the one in the group project that does everything. Yeah. It has to be like an equal thing. I'm like, here's what I'm putting to the table. What are you putting to the table? And then if it's one of those where I feel the energy that people aren't as passionate or aren't as driven to pull through with it, then it's like, oh, what's the point, guys? Yeah, for sure, man. I get it. Like, I really feel everyone sort of wants that end game. Yes. But it's a little tough to get started moving on to that final goal, right? I'm not going to lie. The podcast is the same thing. I bought all this equipment 2 years ago. Can you imagine? I've had all this equipment. I had the Rodecaster, I had all the mics, I had all the stands, everything was all ready 2 years ago, but I was just always putting it off. I was waiting to be Mr. Hey, gotta wait for the right moment, man. And then finally I sat down with Anas. I've met Yaya, and she's like, let's make it happen. And then Yaya's very much like you, very like, hey, we got a deadline. We got to go. We got to record by now. And I'm like, okay, got it.
We have to have like the director in the group.
Oh, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second thing I want to touch on with when you talked to us a little bit about, what was it like coming back, was how did you deal with the hate on TikTok? Like, I know you said that you started ignoring it and stuff like that, but initially I'm pretty sure it got under your skin a little bit, Was there a specific way that you sort of like dealt with it, or you just said, you know what, girl, just kick it to the curb?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's still, at the end of the day, we're humans with feelings.
For sure.
So some comments will irk me, but I always like to think like, well, some people who are hating, especially behind anonymous accounts, are probably just, projecting onto us, whatever feelings, whatever they're going through in life, we don't know. Yeah. They're just projecting onto us. We're kind of like their punching bag.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I tell them like, I tell them like, I think I tell myself that it says more about them than it does about me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember hearing this quote, I'm probably going to butcher it, but you can't control how other people react, but you can control how you act.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something I've been really working on this past year, just trying to be like, okay, whatever perception they have of you, especially if they don't know you and you don't know them, it doesn't matter at all.
Also, like, why give power to them? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, I always like that quote that's like, oh, haters are like crickets. They're so loud, but once you walk past them, they're quiet.
Oh,
and so that used to be my
phone. Dude.
That used to be my phone wallpaper, and I would always like look at it. But
wow, that's so true, right?
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact, because I've had a few nasty comments, few nasty DMs or whatever. And I know for a fact, these are things they would never say to my face.
Exactly. No, I remember you posted on Instagram something about cyberbullying.
Oh, yes.
And I loved it.
I was definitely thinking of that.
No, but it's like, it's one thing where if it gets so ridiculous, then yes, like, call them out. I like, for me, like calling out generally, like, hey, like cyberbullying is not great, guys. Like,
and it's so big nowadays too. Like everyone feels they can say anything and everything they want just because they're hidden behind a keyboard and a screen.
Right. That's why I think for me, I find it even funnier because I'm like, you can't even be brave enough to show your face or show your profile. Everything's private. Everything's like the anonymous, like DP kind of thing. And to me, I'm just like, whatever.
You're Optimus Prime? Optimus Prime is commenting on my content, So.
Exactly. I'm like, what?
Or it's usually just the car.
Right, exactly. And so to me, I'm just like, girl, don't like, think about it because it's such a waste of time to even give energy and power to it.
For sure, man. I think those are like strong words already, especially that cricket quote. I was like, oof.
I love that quote. Every time I'm feeling low and like I just feel the haters' comments, like I think of that quote and I'm like, cricket.
You're just a cricket. Deep fried, I'd totally eat you.
Maybe not.
You've never tried deep fried crickets?
No. I've never tried any bugs.
No? Okay. Surprisingly okay.
Really?
Yeah. So I was in Vietnam for school trip, and like how most drinking institutions, they serve salted peanuts.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the places we went to in Vietnam, to enjoy with my Coke Zero, they had deep fried crickets.
Wow.
So that's just a snack they have, and
God.
you just
wow.
Tasted like baby clams. Like the ones you get in the tin and like Hua Ho and stuff.
Yeah.
Tastes exactly like the baby clams.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think I get like nervous because like all I think about is the little legs going like this in the mouth.
Tickle your throat on the way down. Yeah, that's it.
I have a phobia of that. I'm like choking.
But they're not alive. They're not alive.
No, I know, but I think, okay, I don't know if this is like TMI or something, but I had a spider stuck in my throat one time.
Intentionally?
No, at the time I was on my inhaler and I had this inhaler and I inhaled.
And it was in your inhaler?
I didn't know there was a jumping spider in there.
You don't have that little cap on?
No, we do.
Oh.
But I don't know how it got in there. It's like, it was so tiny too. And I just felt something wriggling in my throat. And I was like, wow, like my cough's really bad and stuff. And then I coughed and it came out. And I remember just like trying to understand what I just saw.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like, no. And I started screaming really loud. And my parents like were like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with her?
When
like,
was this?
I was in lower secondary school, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So every time, like now I'm not on an inhaler, but ever since that, I would always like look and then like tap it on my hand kind of thing.
I'm only aware of the mechanics of an inhaler because my son just got put on an inhaler recently.
Yes.
So I'm just like, but there's that little cap. Did it sneak into the cap? Is there a separate hole I don't know about that they snuck on it?
Right. I think through the other end, you know, when you change the capsule kind of thing, there might be a tiny hole there.
Snuck
I
in.
know, but that frightened me, and ever since then I'm like, okay, straws, anything where there's a tube, or like I'm gonna check first before I put it in my mouth.
Hey man, well played. Right? Fool me once, shame on.
It makes a good story. Every time I tell my friends, I'm like, I had a spider in my throat, and they're like, what?
See, with all these fails, like for me at least, like I can only speak for myself, but I am so open to trying so many new things only because that even if it fails, it's going to end up being a pretty great story.
Yes, exactly.
You are one who I feel you're like this poster child or ambassador for all things collaborations.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
I was like,
for spider swallowing, for collaborations. You've done collabs for music projects, for voiceovers and stuff like that. In this industry or in your field of work, or maybe even work general, do you feel collaborations are an important part of everything?
I do, because like I do believe in the, you know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go in a group kind of thing, you know. And that's why like when I'm working on my projects, like, you know, I have a friend who mixes and masters. I have a couple other musician friends who does like session recordings. And I know that having other people and different perspectives can help elevate your vision, you know. And I always love hearing other people's ideas, because bouncing ideas off of one another can turn into something amazing, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me sharing, I was so I have a few magician friends from around the region, and it's always so eye-opening to see how fast they create a new effect, or how their mind thinks when I'm just like, oh, I really want to make this disappear. And they'll be like, oh, you should totally try this, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're standing? Oh, do this, do that. And I'm like, how are you doing this?
Right.
You know? And because I feel here in Brunei, the magic pool is so tiny.
Yes.
And it's so hard to find someone, I'm not saying I'm the best, but like someone I can sort of look up to or try to shoot for me to want to push myself. And that's why I got to sort of reach outside the country to sort of talk to these people. And just sometimes, just even hearing how they come up with ideas or how they keep track of their ideas, it just helps me elevate my game so much more.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're, again, going back to like, we never stop learning. So even with our peers, we never stop learning, you know, because I'm part of the jazz collective, Elisha Tiga Experiment, or ETX. And what I love about this group is all of us are from different musical backgrounds, you know, and even like career backgrounds. We have Adrian, who's like in the rock scene and indie scene. Yazid does a lot of traditional music.
Okay.
Elisha's like jazz, and like also like a lot of like different type of genres. Adin is also pretty jazz heavy, but he's got the R&B and hip hop background. And so we all just come in with different mindsets, but like, you know, the ultimate goal is like similar. We want to get to a certain point. And it's like, okay, how can we work together to elevate what we want to be and what we want to become and what we represent, you know?
How does someone look for collaboration, or how does someone find their posse, their crew?
I mean, you never know until, again, you meet people, you know? And so when I started publishing my own music and like producing and writing my own music, a lot of my collaborations were through Instagram.
Okay.
So I met people through Instagram, or I reconnected with old friends from uni, and I was like, yo, do you want to like record some stuff and like, you know, put out a record with me kind of thing. And so yeah, you won't know until you just meet people. And for me, when I meet people and I like collab with them, I find out like, oh, I really like what they do with this. I really like what they bring to the table. I'd love to collab with them. And then they become part of like, I guess your like primary team, I guess. So yeah, it's just, you never know, you know, unless you meet people.
I don't know what the music scene is like, but with magic, it's one of those industries or those communities where you could reach out to super famous magicians and they'll actually take the time to reply back.
That's awesome.
So last year I was working on a virtual show, a virtual magic show. And I remember there was this magician where I learned his tricks maybe 10 years ago from a little booklet. His name's Kostya Kimlat. He's like a famous, you know, corporate magician in the States. And he had this hardcore, like knuckle busting sleight that, you know, was, if you learned it, you're pretty like, oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you know. So I remember learning that years and years and years ago. And then last year, I noticed he was killing it in the corporate scene. He was doing a lot of virtual shows. So I just emailed him. I'm like, hey, Kostya, you know, I introduced myself. I also. I'm hoping to we're in wave 2 here in Brunei, and I'm hoping to get into virtual shows. I was wondering if you ran any mentorships or classes that I'd be happy to pay for your time to sort of just, and you know, just learn. And then he actually replied within 24 hours. He's like, hey, thank you so much for, you know, reaching out. He says, unfortunately, I'm way too swamped to run any mentorships or classes at the moment. The only way I think it would make it, you know, make sense for the time is obviously if you paid for a private show, which obviously is not very, you know, feasible for you, or it doesn't make sense. But he said, let me give you a couple tips. And he took the time to craft out this email. And once again, if I didn't, you know, if I was too scared to reach out, I would never have known any of these things.
Right. Yeah. I think it's so great. I'm currently still reading a book called Give or Take, I think, or Givers or Takers. Okay. It was gifted to me by the U.S. Embassy. It was really sweet. Okay. So it talks about like there are 2 different types of people in the workplace. There's givers and takers, but then there's also like the bonus in between of like the people who are like 50-50, a win-win.
The gakers. Yeah, the tivers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they were saying like, you know, as the name is, givers are just like people who just freely give their knowledge, give their time to others, like, and not, you know, try to expect something back, you know. Whereas takers is just like, they're just thinking about themselves, taking everything. And what the book was trying to say was, you know, it posed a question in the beginning saying, who do you think succeeds more in the workplace, givers or takers? And like, in my mind, I was like, well, the 50-50, duh.
Yeah. They're giving a little bit.
Yeah.
Gains everyone's trust a little bit.
Right, exactly. But they were actually saying that givers in the long run wins because they're developing a lot of like meaningful long-term relationships and cultivating that. And then it goes back to our conversation about like connections and networks are so important because they did a couple of like case studies where this one entrepreneur had like an email from just someone random, like a cold email, and was like, hey, I was wondering, like, you know, could you give me some tips kind of thing? And they like freely gave it. A lot of like the employees under this guy was like, sir, why are you giving a lot of like tips? They're gonna know like our business strategies. But then down the line, like these people who've been asking for tips, they're like, oh, we want to like hire you on to do some of these things and stuff with us and collaborate some more. And I think that's so cool that, yeah, of course, like, you know your worth, know your time kind of thing, value that. Don't just like blindly give it away and get exploited or something. For sure. But I do believe in the power of like, you know, cultivating meaningful relationships rather than like one and done. That's it kind of thing, move on.
Definitely. I think when I'm doing social media work, I think with a lot of clients nowadays, I think at the start it was always just one and done projects. Yeah. I tell them nowadays, honestly, I find more meaning and more value that I can provide for you and your company with campaigns more than like just a one-off video or one-off post. Because I feel then we can sort of build a story a little bit.
Yeah.
We can build that trust. We can, you know, sort of get a little bit more buy-in from everyone else. And then there's a nice story that sort of unfolds as the campaign goes on.
Exactly. No, because like recently I was just doing a voiceover. And I thought like, oh, I'm just part of like the trailer and that's it, you know, because I have a lot of those kind of gigs where it's like one and done. But they recently came back and they're like, hey, so we're building a story around your voice and like we want to hire you.
Is this for the Amazon project?
No,
a different one.
Yeah, that's singing. So this is voiceover.
Okay, got it.
So this is a current project right now, and so it's really cool. They're like, we really love your voice for this role. We're building a story around it, so we'd love to have you on. And it's like, wow, like that's so cool, you know.
So now that we're talking about your projects, maybe we could shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I got misinformed prior to this interview.
Dinny.
I don't want to say names, but Dinny told me that you were credited for Luca, which is an animation I just watched with my kid, which we love. Silencio Bruno.
I only know that scene because TikTok repeats it. Yeah.
So, but then we later find out you are credited in the movie Christopher Robin.
Yes. Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about your role for the movie and sort of that journey and how you got there?
Yeah. So I was like a tech assistant to Bryce Jacobs. So while I was working in LA, I was the composer assistant and tech to Bryce Jacobs, who's an Australian composer and producer. And so he was called on for Christopher Robin, so I was under him, and it was so cool. Like, it was a very, very fast turnaround, which is sometimes the case, you know, with like the film scoring scene there, or film scoring industry. But yeah, so I helped him with like the recording, engineering his sessions, cleaning up his sessions and stuff, while he like writes the music. So it was just wild. We got to watch the scoring sessions at the Barbra Streisand scoring stage.
Oh my gosh.
So cool. I wish we could take photos, but like I think our phones are confiscated at the time. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
We had to put our phones away. We had to put our phones away for the cast and crew screening. But I think I did take a photo during the scoring stage, but it was one of those where everyone was like, you know, silent and concentrating. I was like, I don't want to be that person that just
I know. You actually leave the flash on.
Right,
the audio is up.
Yeah. I remember I have one photo which like shows the conductor and like the orchestra, but it's so amazing because, you know, these session musicians, they are so trained and they are such professionals. Like, you give them a score, they go through it once, it's as if they've practiced it for so long. Yeah. And then they'll be like, oops, I did a hiccup here, and I'm like, that's your hiccup?
Yeah. That's cute.
Mine's an avalanche then.
How long was this whole experience?
So our turnaround was really fast. We had 10 days to do it. Wow. Yeah. 10 days for the composers to compose everything, for them to produce, like do score mock-ups, because we do score mock-ups before we go ahead and record, because we need the producers and directors to
be
hear.
On board
which is cool nowadays. Like, you know, before, and like with John Williams, he would just play the score on the piano.
That's it.
And then the director
just
would be
play
like,
the scene.
Yeah,
just play the scene.
And it's like, yeah, we trust you. Like, let's go. But nowadays, it's like, no, that's not enough. You got to create the whole score mock-up.
It's basically a storyboard for the music.
Right, exactly. And you got to make it sound realistic as possible, because like the number one thing I always heard when I was around like the film scoring industry there was just, oh, the strings sound fake, you got to program it properly. And I was like, wow. But it really trains your programming skills, and like, you know, and
also sets your standards.
Yeah, standards so high.
Now you don't want to chill.
Exactly.
Like, this is acceptable. Now it's got to be, hey, close to perfect, or
exactly.
if not perfect.
Yeah, which is to me my perfectionism. It's like
got it, boss. Got it.
It's like my like stress was an all-time high, because I'm like, no, I gotta be like, it's gotta be perfect.
Gosh.
But yeah, like, so 10 days to do all that and to mix it as well, and then send it straight to like.
Dude, you must have been on a caffeine rush. Wow.
Yeah, we all didn't sleep. Yeah, but yeah, I was there to help and assist. You know, especially for Bryce. You know, I was there just on hand if he needed anything. So
but once again, you're having an experience that not many people would be able to.
Yeah. Even to this day, I still pinch myself when I was there. Like, just the whole experience, I was like, I can't believe this is currently my life. Like, this is wild.
So that was one of the behind the scenes, roles that you had.
Yes.
For Amazon. You did one recently, which we talked about a little earlier.
Yes.
You did a singing role for this one.
Yeah.
Wheel of Time?
Yes.
How did that come about? Was that another sort of, whirlwind turnaround thing? Was that something that was in the works for a while?
Sort of a quick turnaround. So I was already in Brunei when I was reached out about it. So the main composer, Lauren Bao, for the film, like his team reached out to me. I met him through Hans Zimmer's camp. Okay. So, because when I was at Hans Zimmer's camp, I met so many different composers, and I got to do like sit-in sessions with them. And just like
absorb.
Basically be a fly on the wall. Wow, my speech. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm fine being farts. Sometimes I just wanted to be a fart in the room because someone silent but deadly. Got it.
Oh my
god. We'll edit that in post. We won't edit that in post.
Everyone's like, but basically be a fly on the wall. So that's how I met them. And so one of the people on his team, Queenie, reached out to me on Facebook Messenger, and I don't check Facebook.
Dude,
a lot of times.
I think Brunei is just not that.
I don't
Facebook,
think so.
Community.
It's more of Instagram, Telegram, and WhatsApp.
Yeah. Oh, dude, WhatsApp. If you want something viral in the next 20 minutes, just put it on WhatsApp.
Forget newspapers.
No,
just WhatsApp.
No need.
But yeah, so she messaged me on Facebook, and I didn't see it right away, and I think she commented on one of my Instagram stories. I was like, hey, I sent you a Facebook message. I don't know if I saw. Man. And I was like, oh no. And so like, I know like, that industry is so fast paced. Like when an opportunity comes, you gotta just jump. Yeah. And so she asked me, she was like, we're looking for a Southeast Asian vocalist to sing an old tongue for this show. And she's like, I can't tell you much right now until you sign an NDA, but like, let me know if you're interested. And I was like, yes.
Yes, I don't care what it is. Just yes.
I was like, yes, please. And so like, once we start discussing, she's like, yeah, this is for the Wheel of Time based on the books. Would you be down? And I was like, yeah, oh my gosh. And so I think when we first started talking, I had to get it done quick during the weekend, and then just send it over to them. And then I didn't hear from them after that. It was like silence. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they moved on to someone else, because they didn't ask for revisions or whatnot. And again, like after being in the industry, I know that sometimes things can change down the line. They might go with other session musicians, or maybe the sound of the score in general could change, like the sonic identity. So I thought like, okay, like move on, like don't get so worked up about it. And I think like 3-4 months later, I get an email from Queenie, and the title said something like, Al Naito is released. Please share around. And I was like, because I recorded? Okay. And so like I opened the email, and she linked it, and she gave like assets. She's like, just share this around on social media if you like and talk about it. And that was my first time listening to it. And I think it was like, I received the email on a Sunday, and it had already released on the Friday before that.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't know once it released that my voice was on there. And so I was listening to it. I was on the phone with one of my close friends here, and I was like, bro, I think this is my voice. And I went silent on FaceTime, and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I think this is my voice. And like I put it up to the speaker, and she's like, girl, I can't really hear through the speaker, but maybe it sounds like your voice. And I was like, I gotta go, I gotta tell my parents. And I was already in tears and stuff, because like it was my first time like being on a huge project, platform, and like have my my credits kind of tied to it, you know, whereas before I was more of like the tech assistant kind of thing.
Also the Brunei flag on your shoulders, man. Like,
right, exactly. And so like, you know, the Wheel of Time community is amazing. Like, oh my gosh, I kept getting like tweets about it and stuff. And it was sweet because one of them, he would tweet saying like, Aisha's a Bruneian artist kind of thing. Like, go check her out. And I'm like, yeah, Brunei artist. But yeah, I cried a lot that day. I was like pinching myself like, man, you really never know in this industry.
And it's crazy how it all just started from you just deciding to say hello to a guest lecturer at uni.
Yes.
And you know, one
now
connection.
I'm gonna get emotional.
It's a full circle moment, man.
Yes.
Because if you didn't say hello, you wouldn't have gone that internship. You wouldn't have, you know, met this person who knows this person who knows you do this and do all these other things. And it's just sometimes getting out of your comfort zone is okay.
Exactly.
Because you have no idea what it's going to lead to, right?
Yeah. And it's okay if like the direction of your course kind of changes a little bit, as long as your like overall goal is still there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think as long as you know what your end goal is.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't matter what the journey is to get there, right?
Yeah, like I started wanting to do film scoring, but then kind of like sort of transitioned into more songwriting, song production, but still wanting to write songs for films and stuff. Yeah. And then when Wheel of Time happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm singing for visual media kind of thing.
Full circle moment, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So it just makes me even more excited about the journey, you know, and just being like, okay, like, I feel like I'm at this point where even though, you know, there's always going to be ups and downs and stresses, but at the end of the day, like, I'm so happy to do what I'm doing kind of thing.
For sure.
And my dad always like makes fun of me. He's like, yeah, you could be like still making boba tea in Rochester, New York, you know?
Thanks, Dad. I always needed someone to keep me grounded. We need that person in our lives,
no,
man.
exactly. Like, my family always grounds me. They always pull me back when they're like, okay, your head's getting too big.
Oh.
Your music sucks.
So I think it's interesting because you had a chance to sort of look at the local scene before coming in as an outsider.
Yes.
Now you're sort of integrated into the music scene here. What's the scene like in Brunei? What's the state of the music industry, or maybe a broader term, the audio industry with voiceovers, ads, and all that stuff? What does it look like to you right now?
Yeah, I think more so for music. And I guess like there's those keywords, music scene versus music industry. I feel like people are still shying away from the business side of things, because it's like, you know, I don't know if it's like, you know, people don't want to lose the art of it, you know, and the fun of it. Because I know the minute we bring in like admin work, business work, we can get drained, you know. And then it's like when we put in so much energy for that and the marketing side, when we want to get creative, it's like, I'm too tired to do it. Yeah.
The BTS side.
Yes,
the quotations, the invoices, the revisions.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And like, you know, it can get very draining, especially since it's a very heavy creative type of workplace. But I think also on a level of like, you know, infrastructure here and resources, you know, we don't have royalties, like back-end royalties or broadcast royalties. So I think stuff like that can make it really hard to do, or like doing like licenses. I find that people here tend to sell themselves short. You know, when I first came back, I think to me, in my mind, I was like, oh, does this mean I have to lower my rates kind of thing? I can't charge the way I charge in LA, you know, or even in Rochester. And I remember I was doing my first Play Forte gig, and Badi asked me, okay, this client wants you as the vocalist. What are your rates? And I was like, what are my rates? So, and I gave him a number, and he's like, whoa, dude. He's like, no, you're selling yourself too short. Can we bump it up kind of thing? You can even go a bit higher. And yeah, it's just one of those where it's like, it's
I don't know. Body's always telling me to lower my rates. So maybe Body's like, to us a little different. We gotta pull him on the podcast.
Body, you have some explaining to do.
sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. That's so funny. But yeah, it's just one of those, like, you know, looking out for that, and like, is one of those where it's like, if we want to make it a livelihood, we got to treat it like it. We can't just charge in a way that's like, you know, it doesn't help us pay the
peanuts,
bills.
right?
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes.
Yes.
Do you feel, because I go through this problem a lot, and every time as a, like an MC host, as a magician, obviously I have to revisit my rates every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I feel sometimes it gets draining because people are like, mahal hai, I'll just go with this other guy or whatever, you know? But it needs to be like a group effort from everyone in the industry. I think, I mean, obviously we don't have a union where it says, all right, MCs need to charge this rate, magicians need to charge this rate at least, you know, but everyone needs to sort of be on the same page. Because I feel if there's that one person that's undercutting everyone else, that's really going to ruin the market for everyone in the field.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, and I totally agree with that. That's why like, I feel like leading by example is always best. Because I feel like I used to be the type that's like, man, I just want to rant on social media saying no. And I almost Twitter fingered it. Yeah. And my parents are like, no. Like even my siblings are like, what
Twitter
are you doing?
Twitter fingers, not trigger fingers, man.
Right, exactly. And they're like, no, that's like, don't do that. Let your work and your quality speak for itself. And so for me, I charge my rates because there comes a certain standard with my product, with the experience I'm giving my clients, the experience I'm giving my audience. It's not just to like, yo, I'm going to show up and do a voiceover or sing. I'm going to immerse you in this world and you're going to leave the room feeling maybe inspired, maybe relieved from anxiety and stress. You know, even just for that 1 hour, I want you guys to just forget about your worries and just feel like, wow, she sees me. She sees me and like, dang, I love that, you know?
So that's what I always tell, I always tell Anna, when I do a magic show, I don't want to just show tricks. Yeah. I want to craft an experience, right? Because if they're paying money to spend, you know, their hard-earned money and a portion of their time for today, then I'm going to try to deliver something more.
Totally. And like I was talking about this with I had a music business coach a couple months ago and we were working together for 6 months. Really cool guy. His name is David. But it's cool
that there's actually a music business coach.
Right. Well, it didn't come about that at first. He approached me asking if I need a marketing person on my team. And I said, well, I don't like just giving someone a job and then like me turning a blind eye. I love to be hands-on with my business and knowing the ins and outs of things and what's going on because it is my brand, you know. And so he's like, okay, well, let's do a coaching thing. I was like, perfect, you know. And so that worked out for me. But I remember the first few sessions, he was like, all right, what is your business statement? And I was like, my what?
You don't know what you're talking about.
I was like, I make music. And
don't you see artist on Instagram? It says artist.
But it's one of those where he's like, no, what's the purpose? Like, how is what you're doing, whether it be the services or products you're trying to sell, how is that changing people's lives? Why is that a necessity for people? So what is your point? And I was like, oh, and that just really changed my way of thinking. And not just like, you know, with work ethic stuff, but also in life. Like, what is the point? I want to do things intentionally. And so ever since that talk we had, I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. Like, why is it important? Like, you know, people don't go to the optometrist to buy glasses. They want to get sight, you know? So things like that. When he told me that example, I was like, oh,
I can see clearly.
I can see clearly.
20/20 vision, babe. Got it. But
yes.
So I think for me, as a magician, there was I remember reading something. It was in a book called Art of Astonishment. It was written by a guy called Paul Harris, and he was one of the consultants for David Blaine. And he was one of the most weird magicians. He was super weird. Like he was doing weird effects with leaves and he was using a deck of cards in like out of the box ways and stuff like that. And he says, the art of astonishment is to be able, because as a kid, as a child, everything is amazing because you're seeing it for the first time. Like whoa, why is that cloud or that sun following me? Why does this breeze feel like this on my face? Like everything's so magical. And he says, my goal as a magician, I'm paraphrasing, I'm also going to butcher it as well, is basically to take every person that comes to my show or sees an effect. I want to take them out of their everyday lives, even if it's just for that 30 seconds when they see a trick, or even 60 seconds, and just bring them back to that state of astonishment. And ever since I read that, I kind of made that my ultimate goal as a magician, because at the end of the day, they're spending 30 seconds of their day to watch something. Exactly. So it better be damn darn good.
Exactly. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like, why are they coming there? And you know, if you give them something that's memorable, something that gives them some relief, that astonishment. I feel like we can never let go of that childlike wonder. You know, I feel like that's what makes art so wonderful, when we get so like curious. And energy, I always believe in like energy is so contagious. How I feel and the type of energy I give off on stage or even like through work, people can feel that. And so I don't want to, you know,
shortchange them.
Exactly, yeah. So,
speaking of shortchange, is, you know, a career in this field right now, do you feel it's something sustainable in Brunei, something to pursue, or is it, you know, do we need to, like for me, and obviously as a magician, it's not something sustainable. I'm going to have to juggle multiple things as well. What is it like in the music scene or the audio scene?
I think this is what I tell people, like always outreach, because, you know, we always go back to the point of like, people say Brunei is so small. But I feel like if enough people do it, and if we get like the support from government to recognize that this is a real career, you know, it can be doable, but it's also the type of industry, at least like songwriting, song production, you know, you can be anywhere in the world and still remotely collaborate.
As long as you have your equipment.
Right.
As long as you have a good internet connection.
Brunei. It was always like our virtual gig the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, please let the Wi-Fi be like good today.
So I had a virtual magic show on Saturday at 5 p.m. And at 4 p.m. my whole simpang decided to trip. So we had no power. So I had to call up the organizer. It was for a 3-year-old girl and her friends. And it was a big, you know, and I said, I'm so sorry. I tried calling the authorities. They didn't even know there was a trip here. And they just said that if you don't have electricity in the next 2 hours, call us. And I'm like, oh. So I said, hey, I'm really sorry. We're going to have to sort of shift things.
Oh, no. Because I hope the 3-year-old wasn't that.
No, my gosh.
It wasn't too sad.
Broke my heart.
I know.
But then we did the show the next day and it was fine. But
okay,
the Wi-Fi is always my biggest concern.
Yeah. And I feel like that's always one of the most frustrating things, because it's like, we cannot control that. But yeah, I think I had the same thing happen where like the Wi-Fi connection wasn't great for a live voiceover recording, because sometimes like I go on call with my clients just so that they can give me live directions. And so we started going on the Zoom call, and it just kept going in and out. And I'm like, no, like, what are we gonna do? So she ended up calling me on WhatsApp.
Oh, bless.
So she couldn't hear like what was feeding into the mic and into my rig, but she was like, it's okay, I could just hear you through WhatsApp then. And I was like, okay, I'm so sorry.
I was just going to ask you about your virtual gig, because I thought that was awesome. And I think pre-COVID, if you had to tell anyone that you're doing a virtual gig, you'd be like, what the hell are you doing? What are you thinking? What is this mumbo jumbo you speak of? But I wanted to ask your experience about it, because for me, when I was doing a magic show, I did not know people in Brunei would actually pay to watch something like a virtual magic show. Number two, you know, I just didn't think that I would actually be able to survive the next few months of COVID from virtual shows. And lastly, I had no clue this was one of the ways that I could reach people who are watching this show from Indonesia and Sri Lanka and stuff like that. What was the experience like for you?
It's amazing, because I mean, nowadays people are working from home. You know, I know a couple of my friends here who had rented out spaces for their businesses have now kind of closed it down because they're like, what's the point? We're all working from home anyway, and we can do our work from home. So I think that's awesome, where it's like, you know, times are changing now where we can have the flexibility of in-person shows and like virtual live performances.
I think one of the things I loved the most was as soon as the gig ended, I would be able to just change into my PJs and hang out with my kids.
Exactly. It's like, it's a win-win for everyone. It's like, all right, we don't have to like move too much. But definitely like, I like the balance of having like, okay, some days virtual gigs, but then I'd love to have in-person gigs because, you know, nothing beats connecting in person.
Especially when you see the reactions firsthand.
Yes, exactly. Like I think, you know, when you're on like a call and like people don't turn on their videos, it's like, I can't really see if you're vibing with this.
Or if you're on the toilet bowl right now. You know what I mean?
Or both.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I feel you're one of the few in Brunei that, actually, before I jump into social media, one more thing about the music industry. So what is one thing you wish you knew before you jumped into the local music scene here? Or the audio scene. Let's agree on the term. I know it's a little late in the conversation to agree on the term, but I say audio because general.
Right.
But yeah, what's one thing you wish you knew beforehand?
Like in Brunei?
In Brunei specifically.
I
think the awareness of license.
It's okay. Sorry. Yeah. Is that okay? Awesome.
And cut. I think one of the things is awareness of licenses. You've mentioned that a little earlier, and I really think that's something people in Brunei need to pay attention to, because even when I shoot videos for clients and stuff like that, I'd be like, great, I'm just going to play this as an advert in here and there, and like, whoa, we didn't decide on that.
Yes, like broadcasting fees and everything, and I think it's just like you said, awareness and educating people. Like, it's not as simple as like you record and you post it. You gotta like think about, okay, the terms of the licenses and like how long you can do it for. I think I scared some prospect clients when I was saying like, oh, okay, you want to use one of my songs for an advertisement. Well, you gotta purchase a broadcasting license as well. And they're like, oh no, it's okay.
Yeah, same thing. So for me, I remember I was hired to do a copywriting gig.
Yes.
And they said, hey, we need you to write a few radio ads for us. And I came out with some out-of-the-box ones and be like, oh, we'd really like this one. We made a whole advertising campaign based on this script. I'm like, whoa. Like, they made comic strips for billboards and like videos they wanted. I'm like, whoa. Like, guys, this is my idea.
Yeah.
I think the initial agreement was radio ad.
Yes.
And, obviously at the end of the day, it's still my intellectual property.
Yes, exactly.
But it's that awareness of, I think, rights and licenses and stuff, which
is why I don't dilly-dally. I know, like, I always love discussing, ideas and like discussing with prospect clients, like, okay, what are you looking for? What are your needs and stuff? But I tell them, like, by the way, if you're looking for something like this, here's my rates. Here's like, what I usually do, like terms of agreement and stuff. If this is something you're not happy with, like, don't hit agree, I agree. Those like computer stuff, like, don't hit I agree if you don't agree with this. So I always give them a heads up. And I remember like starting out, not so much in Brunei, but definitely online when I was doing voiceover stuff. I would lay out my terms and conditions, and then they'd be like, man, you're only in it for the money. And
I'm just trying to protect me and you.
Yes.
Right?
I was like, so I don't lawyer up on you or anything. Yeah. So it's just one of those where it's like, this is going to be less of a hassle if we just get this over and done with first. And then we can talk more about the creative side.
For sure.
But yeah, like, I agree with you. Like, there are some people who are just like, let's discuss first before, because I want to see if you're the right fit for me. And I said, well, I have my reel if you want to listen to it. Yeah. And here's like a private link for a detailed reel. If you still don't vibe with it, or if you're still not sure, I don't think I'm a good fit for you then. I've
heard stories. One of my friends used to run a production house, and they were doing pitches and stuff for a big, client. Client was like, nope, we're deciding to go a different direction. And then a couple months later, their whole idea was used as a, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it can get crazy.
Yeah,
it can
yeah.
definitely get crazy, but hopefully, you know, I mean, hopefully it doesn't get too crazy.
I know, like I don't want people to think I'm gatekeeping.
No.
You know, it's just
No, for sure. At the end of the day, I always tell them, look, I'm just trying to look out for me, and I'm also trying to look out for you.
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly.
What do you think the local industry gets right?
I think just like being really supportive. I think I was like really amazed at how supportive the local scene here is, because when I was growing up, I don't think like I saw a lot of this, or maybe I wasn't really hanging around like a lot of music crowds and stuff, but people here are very, very supportive. And I love how they always start initiatives and stuff to be like, okay, let's put on a show to showcase like these people and stuff. But yeah, I think that's really sweet when people are like, no, we can do this. But yeah, again, circling back to business side, it's like, oh guys, before you really jump into the water, it's like you got to make sure like everything legally is okay.
Yeah, for
everything
sure.
business wise, like even something as simple as compensating your musicians is all
or even
good.
as something as easy as talking to the owner of a space that you want to shoot a quick video on.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
little things like that.
And like I remember like always listening to stories about how like it's so cool. I see like a showcase and people be like, oh, but we didn't get paid for it. And I'm like, guys, don't do things for free. Oh my
Exposure
goodness.
doesn't put food on the table.
No, exactly. Especially when people are advocating for this to be a livelihood. I'm like, well, you can't do things for free. That doesn't make sense. Like, I know some companies will say like, here's a free product from us. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna use a free product for life.
For sure. I mean, there are moments. There are moments where I will consider if it's something or someone that I want to work long term with.
Yes.
It's definitely going to be some give and take. But at the end of the day, I think it's got to be a win for both parties.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't just be sacrificing yourself all the time and like your business, your brand. Because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, do we want the standards of the industry to be up here or still stay down there?
Once again, it's got to be a group effort, right? Because if not everyone's on board, then everyone's going to be spread all across the field.
Yeah, definitely.
You're someone who uses, I feel, social media really well. Like a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of teasers, a lot of insight of, you know, your work and what you do and the people that you work with. How important do you think social media is? I think irregardless of the industry.
I think if you are your own brand, hold on, let me backtrack. Sorry. Because like it could go two ways. You know, when I was in LA, I met so many very successful people who are really making a living off of what they're doing, has so many credits under their belt, but they're not well known. They're not social media people. They're like, I hate social media, but they're doing so well, but that's because of their connections. I feel like social media is important if you want to reach a wider audience and get your brand out there, especially since nowadays, like everything is on social media now, you know? But I feel like in a place like Brunei where it's not like LA, where LA has so many connections, so many different studios. And Brunei, I think we're more trying to outreach to the rest of the world. So I feel like that's where social media really comes in handy. Because then it's like you can end up on someone's FYP in Europe, you know, and like other places in the world. And they'd be like, oh, Brunei? Okay, let me check it out, kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
How do you stay current? How do you figure out what to post or, you know?
Honestly, I just try to stay true to myself, you know, because nowadays I feel like people just want to see someone's own style. You know, I used to be the type of person, when I started TikTok, my brother convinced me to get TikTok at first. And I was like, Azim, I don't want to be dancing on TikTok because this was the height of COVID. And he's like, no, like you should like in 1 hour, because he got like TikTok for he's a trainer.
Okay.
And he would get like 3,000 views in like 1 hour. So that convinced me. I was like, ooh. In 1 hour, I had like 1 view. The first time I told him.
You're wrong.
I know.
You are wrong.
Azim, you suck.
Is this one of your pranks?
Right. But what's it called? To stay current. Yeah, I feel like, you know, people just want to see authenticity transparency, I feel like people value a lot. And so, you know, I just try to be myself, my authentic self, do things that, you know, represent me, as opposed to like trying to keep up with what's trendy.
Yeah.
Because the minute you try to keep up, you're already behind.
Oh, for
you
sure.
know? So
also, I feel be a little loose with your expectations of the content you're putting out, right? Because I feel social media is cowboy country.
Yeah.
Things that you think will go viral won't, and the things that you think won't go viral will, which is so crazy because I'm like, I figured it out. I've cracked the code. And I'll post something and be like, nope, I haven't.
I know.
Maybe it's because I posted at 12:30 and not 12 o'clock. And I'm like, nope, still didn't work. You know, so yeah.
It's so interesting. That's why it's like, maybe it's just the way people react to it as well. And like, that's why, like, you know, you just never know. But from what I've seen, like creators on social media who do consistently well, it's just, they just find what they do and know what they're good at, first of all. And then it's like, what is their purpose, you know? So what is the point of them doing all of this? And then they share that kind of thing.
Full circle moments, exactly what you talked about at the start,
Exactly,
right?
yeah. So
I know we touched on this a little at the start, but you know, even with all the accomplishments you've done, all your wins, all your goals, do you feel that imposter syndrome, you know, still creeps up even with all your experiences? Do you ever feel, you know, because I know I go through it. There are moments where I'm just like, yeah, why would people want to pay for a show? Or why should I perform? Or am I actually, you know, affecting people with what I do? Do you ever go through all that?
I think more so that latter, that last point of like, English is hard. Is what I'm doing affecting people in a positive way, you know, or giving them an enriching experience? So sometimes I think about that, but I feel like that's my perfectionist side of like, I should have like put my arm this way, or I should have done this. I should have stepped that way and stuff. But it's one of those where nowadays it's easier to navigate. Whereas I think when I was starting out and I was a little lost and didn't really have any clarity in my music and artist journey, I was like, dang, like what if I'm just not as hot as I think I am? You know, like what if my music isn't really slapping as I think it is?
As the cool kids say.
Right. So, but and that's why I say like always be open to feedback, to constructive criticism. Like I always show my music to my brothers. My younger two brothers are like the biggest critics, but also like I trust their ears because like they're so detail oriented and they're very objective, you know? And so when I'm in the mental state of like, I'm learning, I'm observing, and I'm just like taking everything in, I feel like then it distracts me from the imposter syndrome. Or not distract, but like I don't have time to think about that. I just think about the work and enjoying the work I do. So yeah.
So, got a little surprise for you. I feel, whoa, calm down. But I just feel that so many people, I think, when they listen to this, they don't sort of see these little speed bumps or these little things that we go through, that we cycle through our heads.
Yes.
You know, I psych myself out of a lot of projects and stuff like that. And I want people to sort of know that, hey, like, you know, people like Aisyah, people like Jenny, people like Easy all, you know, suffer from, you know, these little things that sort of, you know, sometimes creep up. We don't want them to, but sometimes it's a little difficult to sort of put them away at bay.
Yeah.
So if any time, you know, you feel these moments come up, I wanted to share this moment with you. So we reached out to your circle and we asked them, how has Aisyah impacted their lives with what she does? And the first...
How did you do that?
Our producer over there. The first person we reached out to was a girl you might know by the name of Wafa.
Aww.
And here's what she has to say about how you've impacted her life with what you do.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry.
I met Aisyah in May 2021 and we have been best friends since then. The more I got to know her and spend time with her, the more I realized how sweet of a person she is, and her personality resonates through her love and passion she has in her music. Oftentimes, she would give me an insight or breakdown of how she creates her music, and this truly inspires me to create content that I'm passionate about. Her positive aura and mindset turned me into a more positive and forgiving person towards anyone else and even myself. Whenever I listen to her music, it feels soulful and genuine.
Oh,
Sure, man.
I love you.
Did you ever feel that you'd sort of have that sort of effect or impact on the people around you?
Oh my gosh. I guess I don't think about it because in my mind I was like, I don't want to be sombong like that, you know? But that's so sweet.
I've got another one for you.
Okay.
You might know him. He goes by the name of Pisces Kid. I don't know if you've heard of him. For the people listening on the podcast, she just flashed her ring. Just flashed her ring.
Beyonce.
So this is what you have to say about how you've impacted his life with what you do.
Hey Aisyah, I'm sure you're probably listening to this right now, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm so proud of you. You are one of the most inspirational individuals I've met, especially when it comes to your work. You're compassionate towards others and very understanding, and in moments of hardship, you remind me to look at myself in that same light. Thank you for being that source of light and joy in my life. And I love you.
I love you too. Oh,
So yeah, so
guys
we
had me
wanted.
almost crying.
We just wanted to find a way that we could leave our guests with a little something that at any point that you ever feel like a little down, a little low, because we all go through it. You're gonna remember this moment, and there's at least 2 people out there that you've impacted with what you do.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for reaching out to them. Oh my gosh. Now I see why Adin was asking me, like, when's it gonna be released, by the way? And he's like, when's your interview again?
Yeah.
Wafa didn't say anything. Oh my gosh.
Poker face, man.
Yeah.
Poker face.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so let's bring this whole conversation full circle. I told you off air that this, my aim for this podcast is for it to be a database for people who are going on similar journeys, people who are trying to, break out of the regular 9 to 5, people are trying to do side hustles or start something new, start something great. What is one tip you could leave a listener who's about to start their journey or who's going through that journey, and just, how can they make it happen?
Yeah, I mean, practice your craft always. Be consistent, and believe in yourself before anyone else believes in you. So that's what I would say.
Perfect advice. I love it. And that brings us to the end of the podcast.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem at all. Hey, man. Thank you, dude.